Welcome back to another Creative Collective podcast. My name is JB. This is my partner Cody. And today we have a special guest, someone that's been doing freelance for over 5 years. And guys, we brought you this guest because we want to keep giving you game and keep adding value to the community. So let's welcome Mr. Dillon. So tell us about your career and what got you started.
Sure. Well, first of all, JB and Cody, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate the invite. So yeah, I have been interested in videography and film for as long as I can remember. I was doing stuff in iMovie when I was like in middle school. I was really intrigued by the visual effects of movies, and I thought it was really interesting how I could do the green screens and overlays and visual effects myself just with consumer level software. So that's what piqued my interest. And then I got my first professional gig where I got hired to produce this athletic promotional video for my high school. So this was in 15, probably when I was a sophomore in high school. And I thought it was just so cool that, I could be paid to do something that I loved. And then I realized there was a lot more potential there. And then my parents have co-owned a graphic design company for over 30 years. So they had, so they had some clients of their own. They did mostly like websites, and a couple of their website clients needed promotional videos done. So, I don't take that for granted at all. That certainly helped me get my foot in the door and do some paid work. So I was doing things from 2D explainer animations to just overall corporate videos, event coverage, and really did a variety of stuff, which is something I'd recommend to people starting out. Is, you're not going to know what you enjoy working on unless you try a lot of different things. So that was a strategy that worked for me and I really encourage. And then, just sum things up. I did 2 years of college at two different schools. One was a small private school. The other one was a big public school. And then I studied film and media, both of those places. And then my sophomore year was the pandemic. Everything went online. And I thought, I had considered doing a gap year out of high school and just not even, I wanted to do freelancing full time. And I was at a fork in the road where I had 2 years of college left. And I said, you know what, if I go any longer, then it might make more sense for me to stay in and graduate. But if I'm going to go for it on my own, then this might be the time to do it. So I left college and went into freelancing full time. And that was 6 years ago. And I've never looked back. And so, yeah, I mean, we can get into more of what I'm working on now, but that's sort of my background and how I got started.
Okay, so let's dive deeper inside of the conversation about going to school. A lot of people are self-taught, YouTube University, and then we have our I'm going to enroll into a program. So what has been your experience and what is the biggest difference in your point of view?
And then I just want to add to that real quick before you answer. Also tell us, like, because I think you said you were going for a 4-year school, and I know a lot of like film schools are 2-year. So like, was you
Yeah.
specifically going for film, or was that something where you were going to college, didn't know exactly what you wanted to do, decided to kind of shift towards film?
Sure. Yeah. So I definitely knew that I wanted to study film. I wasn't like undeclared or anything like that. I was intentional about it. I just thought that because of, there's a lot of peer pressure around, getting your degree and getting a bachelor's degree and just looking around at what all my other peers were doing. So I just thought that that was the goal. And these schools that I went to and the programs were 4-year film degrees. So in hindsight, I probably think, just like you said, a 2-year film program would be more than sufficient. But I was, going back to middle school and high school, these YouTube channels like Film Riot, Indie Mogul. I don't know, you guys are probably around my age, right? You like remember all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just so inspirational to me. And I learned how to use Premiere Pro and After Effects and all those programs literally from watching YouTube, which is pretty insane. Then by the time I got to college, I thought it was very ironic that some of these presentations that were shown in class were actually linking the same YouTube videos that I had watched like years earlier. I know they had like a slow-mo guys video to demonstrate how camera settings worked. And I just thought that that was kind of bizarre. And I had sort of a light bulb moment where I realized that there's no top secret information that's like, behind the scenes at these film schools, like from my experience, and I think that's true to a certain degree. Like, I think if there are professors that, have worked on things and they can certainly provide a lot of value there. I'm not saying it's total, like, I'm not saying that it's not, there's no value that can be taken from it, but I think I had this realization that all the information is out there. It's just really about implementing it and finding the right information and knowing how to use it effectively. So I would say the biggest thing that, like, if you're going to go to a 4-year film school or a formal education, the number one thing that was beneficial to me were the connections and the people that I met who I'm still in contact with, because you're going to be with other like-minded people who have similar goals as you. And this industry is all about who you know and connections. Obviously, what you know and the quality of your work is important, but at the same time, you're going to hire people that and some people that you met in school or that you build your reputation up, like those people are going to hire you. And I would say my biggest takeaway is, like, you get into film school what you put out of it. If you go and work on sets and volunteer on, like, I was a freshman, I helped out upperclassmen with their student film, and I didn't have to do that, but I knew that I was going to get out of it what I put into it. So I tried to go the extra mile and not do the bare minimum just to get by, because I knew that was really important. But I think the learning the fundamentals is something you can absolutely do, whether it's on YouTube or I know there's a lot of great courses and mentorships and coaching programs out there right now that, like what you guys are doing, that building community and learning from things like that, I think is, especially as time goes on and tuition costs go up, it's going to probably be a more viable option. And I just think you have to be strategic and well-intentioned and know what to look for and how to get as much value out of whatever program you're in. Those are my takeaways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
No, it does
100%.
make sense. And I totally agree with you about, because I'm a person who's actually went to film school. And I'm not going to say that I'm a complete advocate on, shut everything down and take it to film school. And that's going to be your answer. But I will say, I do like what you said about there being, those 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever professors that have been in the industry for a while, do know what they're talking about. And you can latch on to them, because actually I went to Full Sail University and I'm going to always talk about him because he really helped me out. His name's Randy Baker. He was a professor there, and he actually took the time with his students. He gave me like an hour-long depiction of rundown of my a critique basically of my video I had turned in, and like he didn't have to do that. He took an hour of his time to do it and give me all the details of what was wrong and what I could do better. So yeah, I would just say that, like you said, be intentional. If you're gonna go to film school, do it with intent, and actually use the time there wisely. Don't just figure out who's going to give you the next, internship or who's going to be your next employer. It's like, no, you got to make those jobs and take the time to actually learn what you need to learn. But like you said, I do absolutely agree that it's going to be more time invested wisely into your business and into yourself overall when you're doing like these programs and coaching programs and stuff, because it's a lot of time and money when you go to these universities. I mean, it puts you in debt, and that can really hurt you in the long run.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, Full Sail, I'm sure a program like that is going to be different than like the programs that I went to. So I think there's not going to be a one size fits all answer to this is the best film school. Everyone's going to offer something different. They're going to have different professors. And honestly, not all the professors are going to be as dedicated as, the one that you just described, who
Hmm.
took the extra time to like leave a really thorough critique in. And I mean, I had good professors, and I had professors who I also thought were just kind of doing the bare minimum. And so I think and another part of it is I've seen firsthand, there have been so many colleagues of mine who I met in school, and they finished their degree and I didn't. And like, I look and they're, struggling to find work, and, I'll try to hire them when I can to help out. But that really frustrates me and angers me that, they did what they were supposed to do and they got their degree, and it's still difficult to, have a sustainable career, I guess, if you're not, and there's all these variables with like, oh, the economy is the way that it is, or with AI and the, companies are opting to do things themselves. There's so many variables with this, but also I feel it's kind of like a betrayal with these programs is like there's it's supposed to help you, in your career and but I've realized that there's a lot more to it than just going through classes or whatever. You have to have a more strategic business mind around and there's a lot of things and again, granted I only did 2 years, but I remember there was a course, it was called Navigating the Freelance World, but it was an elective course and it was only for seniors. So I think that said a lot about, we only want to teach people theory. We don't, that the business side of it is kind of an afterthought. And honestly, that is going to be indicative of your success, regardless of what you want to do, is knowing how to market yourself and build an offer. And so I think it seemed at times like the priorities were a little bit flipped on its head, where the strategy is just as important as the theory.
Okay. So along all this journey of understanding that going to film school is most importantly about connections, and on top of that, what were some of the biggest challenges you went through with going through all of these journeys? What were some of the hurdles you had to jump personally?
Biggest challenges, I would say just the uncertainty of, when I started, it was during the pandemic and it seemed like no one had any money to spend. And just, it was the uncertainty really of just not knowing where the next project was coming from. And also learning how to negotiate and all these things. And like, if I got an opportunity, I didn't want to screw it up and try to pitch something for too high of a price. And then I would lose it out on the job entirely and things like that. So I would say it was really just getting off my feet in that climate of just, it didn't really seem, it seemed very daunting, but I also, so yeah, so the uncertainty around that. And then, I think also trying to I don't like using the term like work-life balance. A friend of mine who I had on my own podcast actually called it like work-life integration, when you're doing your own thing. And this is sort of business related and it's not, but I I was a little bit ruthless early on in terms of like, I was just, and I still do a lot of the time, I'll be editing like 10 hours a day, just every single day, even on weekends. And I kind of like burn myself out doing that. And so that was certainly a challenge because I couldn't say no to things. And I would say that was a really big challenge too, is learning how to be intentional with my work and have some separation so that, I can do my best work if I can manage what I'm doing and I can do it in the highest quality way possible and not have too many things and I'm rushing through it, if that makes sense. I mean, I will say you asked about challenges and I was very fortunate in that, with my parents' graphic design company, that really helped me ease into it. And then during the pandemic, I was able to live at home and with
Okay.
them. And I was freelancing there and didn't, my like living expenses were extremely low. So I would say that challenge wise, like I'm not going to lie, compared to challenges that other people have, I wouldn't even consider those like career challenges in a way. Like I
Yeah.
was very fortunate growing up and I don't want to like, kind of gloss over that and be like, oh, it was really, really tough. So I would say the challenges that I would point out are the ones that I just described in terms of
Exactly.
like had I was just all 110% in my business and like my social life would take a hit and friendships and things like that because I was just so like focused in on like I need to get as many clients as I can and keep going. And I think that served a place, but if I had to give advice to other people, it's like, yes, you're so passionate about your business, but you also need to take care of yourself a little bit and create that space and make time for your family and your friends. And that when your mental health is in order like that, then you're going to do better work and your business is going to be a reflection of who you are if you're taking care of yourself. So that's certainly a challenge that I've been navigating and I've gotten better at in recently. But does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it make 100% sense. So for me personally, I am a person that learn from courses, real world experience, hustle grind. what would you say to someone like that? If you can give your honest opinion reflecting on all the things you've been through and someone that's not necessarily against going to film school. I don't think no one's against it, but more some people just not don't want to do it because they don't want to get into the school field anymore. Some people just don't like school. So what would you say to those individuals?
Like if they're considering what form of education to.
Yeah, yeah. Like if they was yeah, basically like if they was fighting in between like, hey, I think I'm gonna just go out here and hustle and grind. What would be some of the advice you would give to those people to educate themselves and grow their business?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I think having people to reference that are where you want to be is important. And, if we all have to use social media, it's just a part of daily life now. You should be
Yeah.
filling up your feed with other people who are motivating you and firing you up about like giving you inspiration for like knowing, okay, I can do this. This is possible. And also the knowing about the resources that are available to if you can learn how to run ads, you can do these different things that are really going to move the needle for you. I think it's being aware of those things and consuming them on a daily basis because you are what you consume on social media, you are what you read. So be like intentional with curating that feed, I think is important. And then also putting yourself in situations to meet new people and network, like in your local community. There's networking groups, there's film communities like probably that you might not even be aware of. And if you just kind of stay isolated behind your laptop screen and say, oh, the clients will come to me, like you're not maximizing the connections that you could have if you just try to do a little bit of in-person community and in-person networking. So I think those are important. Also personal branding, like I know there's debate around how effective a website is nowadays. Like just your LinkedIn and your Instagram might be just as, if not more effective than that. So put effort into that. And you don't necessarily have to have a lot of followers, but just the effort and engagement on those platforms is important. And if people discover your work, if they can see a very clear message about what you do, and that's one thing that I will say is you have to be memorable or find ways to stand out because it's a very saturated industry, as both of you guys know. There's it's not that difficult to find people with cameras and someone who will be able to produce a video. But it's about speaking to a specific type of person. And if someone goes to your website or your LinkedIn, they should be able to know what you do very quickly. So, I mean, like for me, I've been focusing on podcasts. I used to just say that I was a videographer or video producer. And now I say that I specialize in podcasts. That totally changes things because people know me as the podcast production guy now and not just the overall jack of all trades generalist video producer, because there are a lot of those.
Exactly.
And I found success doing that. But I think if you want to like take the next step, then being memorable and crafting a clear message in your branding is important. So yeah, being memorable, networking, finding people to emulate, inspiring yourself, those are all important. And and just keeping on top of trends and in terms of like where AI is headed, if doing things really efficiently. And there are plenty of courses and things where, if you might not realize that there are ways to speed up your workflow, and there are a lot of videos and resources on how to do that. So always be in a constant growth mindset, always be learning. Just because you go through a course or a program, don't be like, okay, I'm all set now. Like I know everything I need to know to succeed. I think that might be an ignorant way of thinking, where you can say, okay, I know enough to be confident in what I do and articulate my services, but what I know might be the tip of the iceberg. And I can't get complacent in thinking that I know everything, because we all have a lot to learn, and there's so much room for growth in no matter what industry or career you're in. So I hope that is
No,
valuable
no,
to
that was
people.
all great advice because we actually have a testament to what you just said about having that mindset of, I think I learned enough information to go out here and become successful. And that may be true in some cases. All it takes is one small idea, you can change your life instantly. But there are moments, and it's always going to be moments where you have to reflect and look in that mirror and say, you know what? I know so much information to where I'm almost stuck. Or maybe I don't know enough information that I confidently can say I probably will never make these same mistakes again ever again. And recently we actually seen someone that we're close to actually say those words of, "Hey, I don't need to learn anything else." And
I'm
as soon as
good.
the opportunity came, everything was against those words. And sometimes your words can bite you when you use them in the wrong time and the wrong sequence, because um, it can, yeah, your life experience will get you. So yeah, those are all great points. Those are all great points.
And I just want to add to that, just to add to your list, don't be afraid to take opportunity. Regardless of what
Mm,
the opportunity might be, I think a lot of us out here are just afraid to take that next step, that next action. We think everything might be a scam. Everybody's out to get
yeah,
us when that's really not the case at all. There actually are some good people out here, especially in this industry that I'm noticing that are really out here to help you. They really want to see you grow. So yeah, don't be afraid when someone comes to you with an opportunity, regardless as if it's a coaching opportunity, some kind of a platform, an opportunity to take a gig, opportunity to go on site and just learn for free. Whatever the opportunity is, don't be afraid to take it, because what I'm seeing is there's a lot of people out here afraid to take the next step.
yeah,
Yeah, can I just echo that really
yeah,
quick?
yes, sir.
I think seizing opportunity, like you just said, is really important. And it sounds so simple, like, well, duh. Like, of course, if you want to go somewhere, then you have to say yes to things, and
Yeah,
then those will open new doors. But I've seen a lot of times where people don't do that, where they might not have work, and I'll offer them something, and they'll say, "Oh, wait, well, I'm supposed to hang out, or like I have other plans this weekend." And I'm like, do you want to be in this space doing this professionally? Or like, you're going to have to realize like what your priorities are. And I know that might sound like hypocritical to what I said earlier, where like you have to have balance,
yeah,
but there's a fine line, because like sometimes you might get an opportunity to like work with a brand or a company or something. And if you take a couple days to respond, or you say, maybe let me get back to you, like that means no. And
yeah, almost.
that could turn into a client that lasts for multiple years, and then they might refer you to other people. So I always like to think of things where if I get a lead and it's someone that I really want to work with, I'm not just auditioning for them, I'm auditioning for the people that they might refer me to, because this is all like it's a big networking tree.
It is.
And I'll give you an example of this. This was about a year ago. So is one of my clients, he's a speed and performance coach, and he does these weekly workout video tutorials. He has his own podcast, and I was like, wow, this is exactly the type of client that I want to specialize in. And I had a call with him, and it was like half an hour. I didn't hear back from him for a couple months, and I went, oh well, like I just missed out on that. But then couple months later, I heard back from him, and he said, like, sorry, this is like, I know this is a quick turnaround. This was a Friday or something, but he said, we want to post this podcast on Monday, and we're looking for an editor to work with long term. Can you get this done by Monday? And I, I could have just said, I want to do other things on my weekend, but instead I said, this is really what I want to do. So I found the time to do it. I knocked it out of the park. They loved it. Fast forward a year later, they've given me consistent work, and it's turned into a lot of sustainable business for me. And I just say that because if I hadn't seized that opportunity, if I hadn't recognized that fork in the road, or if I said, maybe I can send it a week from now, they would have found somebody else, and I wouldn't be in that opportunity with them right now. It sounds really simple, but it's all about decisions and what's most important to you. We all have time for we all can make time for what's important to us. So if you want to build a good portfolio of clients, this industry, then it's going to take some sacrifices here and there. Also, one thing I've learned is, because I really focus on long-term client relationships and not short-term, and I really double down on that. And I've mentioned this on it was actually the podcast with Christopher, who is how we got connected. But back in October, there's two of my clients are in Colorado, and they're in the running space, and there's a race there a 5K marathon, half marathon, that they were sponsored by. And I wanted to do a formal race. So I said, let me go there and I can meet them in person. Like, I'd never met them in person. And I thought, like, these are the people that I want to be working with. So let me take this opportunity to go and like shake their hand and meet them in person. And that's going to go such a long way in terms, like we were talking about before, making me memorable. They can tell that I'm dedicated and that I want to work with them. And it's seizing another opportunity to strengthen a client relationship. So, um, yeah, hopefully that provides a little bit of insight into what I'm trying to boil down the things that have brought me success. And
Exactly.
I think it's the small things like that. They seem like these little decisions, but they really make a big
Yeah.
impact in the
It's
long term.
always about the small things. It's never the big detail, do this, do that. It's always the small things that people don't always think about that actually help you win.
Exactly.
Speaking of that, I know you're in Pennsylvania and we're in Atlanta, and I know we have way more people that probably do video and photography than Pennsylvania, maybe. Don't quote me on that. So tell me about the community standpoint over there. Are you a part of communities? Are there a lot of communities? Are people community minded? What do you think, or what is going on over there as far as community?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I grew up in the Philadelphia area, so I think there's certainly a really good established film industry, video production community out of Philadelphia from what I've seen. But I've lived in Lancaster, which is about an hour and 45 minutes from west of Philadelphia. And it's definitely a smaller, more tight knit community. But I recently he was a previous guest on my podcast. He is the founder of a local creative community for not just video people, but like photographers, designers, brand strategists. And I didn't have any idea that that was literally like right in my backyard here. And I think it's about seeking those things out, and I'm sure like the Atlanta and Philadelphia and Austin, LA, Chicago, like Miami, or like you take these like bigger cities on the map, they're probably going to have more established like video slash film communities or like a presence around that. But I think even in smaller towns, like there's a lot of you're going to find like-minded people somewhere, and if you can find ways to collaborate with those people, and I think with Facebook groups and social media, it's you'll be able to find things like that. And it was actually funny because I found out about that creative community because I went to a run club that was in my city, and I was I was talking with someone, and there's also another person that I met at this networking group, and she had mentioned to me that she was going to these events led by this creative community. And then I interviewed someone else for my podcast who also knew him, the founder of it. And then I invited him on my podcast and I had a great chat with him. So I wouldn't have known about this community had I not. It's like, that's the other thing is sometimes you might be presented with a chance to do something. You might not even think it's business related, but if you just go and try to make new friends, that might open new business opportunities too. Like, don't just go to a thing, oh, this is a professionals group only for business
Yeah,
networking. It's like, no, just focus on making new friends and meeting new people in general. And I
yeah,
think that can unlock business because there are going to be people who need video, even if they don't need it. Maybe they know someone who needs it. And if you mention what you
exactly.
do, they say, oh yeah, like maybe, my friend's dad has this company and they were talking about getting a video done. Let me connect you with them. So it's all about putting yourself in those situations, and you really can't predict how opportunities are going to be presented to you
No.
sometimes. You just have to be well intentioned and just put yourself out there, and those things will fall into place. Like that's been my experience. But
Yeah, because if everyone knew where to get gigs from, we'll all just go there and find everybody we need it. That's actually a
exactly.
great thing to tell people. Go in places where you can talk to someone and be seen. When you always sitting in the house, always at the computer where you can't be talked to at all, that that's actually great
And
advice.
also to that same point, don't be one of them that's like you said earlier, always outside, trying to walk the line of having a family life, a home life, and having a work life. It's like it's okay to have that balance, but if you're always outside, people can't talk to you in that respect either because you're worried about partying, you're worried about your boys, your girlfriend, whatever you got going on. It's like they want to be able to come up to you in that respect and connect and network, even if you are maybe just out having a coffee, or even if you are just out at a public place real quick. Don't just be that shut down person where you just like, nah, man, I'm out partying, or it's my wife's birthday, or it's, whatever. It's like, you never know who you could talk to. So, like I said, always take those opportunities.
Yeah, it's all about learning to be a people person. And this hasn't come naturally to me. I've always, for the longest time, I said, I'm just an introverted guy. If you put me in a crowded room, I'm just going to stand in the corner and wait for someone to come to me. And that's all in your head. Like you can be the people person. And that's not just good for your personal life. It's also going to, like I just said, it's going to be a reflection in your professional life as well. And one other thing I just like to say that has been really meaningful to me is as I've gotten more experience, the opportunity to give back. And I mean, I haven't formally mentored anyone, but just the ability to, if I have an overflow of work, to hire other people, give other people chances um, earn income and just giving other the chance to work on things because I have the ability to do that, I think has been very purposeful for me. And like we talk about just being, it's like you were saying, if you're out and about and you just be a decent person who wants to just have genuine interactions with people. It's not just, oh, I'm not going to talk to you unless it's transactional, unless I get
Yeah,
business out of this.
Right.
Just
yeah,
being a genuine person and also being a little bit more virtuous in terms of like, the guy that is my assistant editor right now, I met him on this set from this other guy that I went to film school with, and he was one of his students because the guy that I was working with was an animation professor for a semester. So it was one of the animation students. And he reached out to me and he said, I want to do contract editing. Like, can I ask you for some advice on how to get started? And I said, absolutely. I did an hour call with him. Like, I don't want a dime for that because it's giving back. So I think that's another level of like, if you are genuine and you want to help people succeed, whether it's like in their careers or if you're working with clients and you want them to, you want to achieve results for them and not just be like a video producer, like a button presser. You actually want to help them achieve results and be like a strategic partner for them. I think that's really going to show through because people can spot in authenticity or fake people. They can sense that. So just like try to work on yourself and like know what your priorities should be and how to be a well-intentioned person. I know it sounds simple, but it goes a long way.
yeah, yeah, and that's crazy that you say all those things because that was literally the fuel behind the creation behind Creative Collective is for individuals like that and individuals that need the help to bring those two together to give them the one stop place to just give all those answers to themselves and help a person that wants to go to the next level essentially and has a good heart to leverage the people in the community and actually give people an actual chance because people it's a lot of people that do it but like you said we have the people that sit in their corner and sometimes we just need to create the funnel for those people. It's like, okay, you can sit in your corner, but just use this platform as a way where you can sit home, browse, and connect with people online. So that was like a perfect thing that aligned with what we had going on. So that was perfect game.
Yep.
So what would be like some closing remarks would you leave to a creator out here today?
Yeah, I would just give some encouragement and say that it's a very exciting time to be alive and be in this space. And, there's, I always preface that, or I already said it, but whenever I tell people this, I always say like, there's a lot of problems in the world. I want to be sensitive to that. There are people that are struggling and things like that. But in terms of, if you want to, with that being said, it's a very exciting time to be to build something for yourself in terms of like a video business, which is what I've been doing, and you really a laptop and internet connection is really like there are no excuses in terms of, oh, I wish if I had this expensive camera and then I could start my career, or I wish I had this upgraded computer. Like I don't want to hear any of those excuses. Like there's so much opportunity out there. The demand for video is at an all-time high, or just creative services. I know it's kind of there might be a stigma against it, like, oh, you're a starving artist, you're like pursuing this and like go get a real job. Like you hear all those things. If you like we were talking about before, if you can know how to educate yourself for the things to learn um that are going to translate into business success, and you're seizing opportunity and putting yourself in situations to meet people and network, and you take pride in your work. You're not just doing the bare minimum to get by, and you actually have a strong attention to detail, and it's you can people can tell that like this is your craft, and you
Mhm.
don't just want to. It's not just a means to an end, which is obviously it is for all of us. Like we have to we we're in this because we have to earn money and make a living, but at the same time you can do people can tell that you're in this because you're passionate about it and you're fired up, and tell that like he can tell that I love what I'm doing. And oftentimes he'll talk to people who like they'd rather be doing something else, but they're just doing like podcast editing to get by. But he said, I can tell that you really enjoy podcast editing because you have your own podcast, and like from the content that you post, it's very clear that that's where your heart is in it. I would leave people with a word of encouragement that really like you can I like edit podcasts and videos for a living. People that aren't in the space, so like I'll tell them that and they'll look at me kind of like, "What is that?" And but I don't even care because like that's what I do. That's what I've found success doing, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And yeah, there's all the things that unlocks in terms of being able to do things on your own terms. There's nothing really stopping anyone from doing that. Obviously, it might be more difficult if you're just building up your skill level and your portfolio and your client lists. It's not going to be like overnight, but you have more hours in the day than you think. Like if you're working a full-time job doing something, those other hours, like later in the day, you could be building something like your own business on the side and then get momentum with that. And then eventually that can be your full-time thing. It's all about like what seeds are you planting right now? So, like, they'll reap later if you keep planting them and watering them and keep working on it. Like, you can really build a really, sustainable and fruitful career if you're doing the right things. So, I would just encourage people.
So everyone you hear here, we want to go ahead and thank Mr. Dillon for dropping all of these jewels. I'm sure everyone that's watching will gain a lot of knowledge off just simply watching this podcast alone. You'll probably be increased as far as knowledge, at least by 80% watching this podcast. And all we want to do is just help people learn from other creators and be great and find different opportunities to where they can expand and find their true goal and their true why. Either that's being an artist, running a business, or doing both. Or simply, if videography is just the vehicle to get you where you want to go, we want to help that vehicle move faster. So, with that being said, my name is JB. This is my partner, Cody. And this is our guest, Dylan. See you on the next one.